Here we go. What's up, everyone? You're listening to the Air Raid Attack podcast presented by La-Touraine Watches. Definitely give them a check out. La-Touraine, LA-TOURAINE.com. Shop, get all your swag. Trust me, I got mine. Should have brought them on the podcast, but they're up in my built-in. Just got home from work. But nonetheless, great merchandise, great watches, great sunglasses. What you got, what you want, they probably will have it. And of course, a ton of other watches coming out here shortly, and more details about that in the description and in the tweets later on tonight. But of course, La-Touraine, you also use the code AIRRAID, save you 10% off on all orders, and I may just have a special giveaway. Of course, that will be tweeted out tonight after the doubleheader. But nonetheless, the founder of La-Touraine Watches, Dave, is joining us. Dave, first off, thank you for allowing the podcast to be a part of your brand, and thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come on the podcast.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. And first things first, Dave, is, and I'm curious myself, just like everyone else, is first off, La-Touraine. How did you come up with that awesome name? Great watch, by the way. I love my watch and sunglasses. But how did you come up with the name and just start practically, I guess, from day one up until now? What led you to start this business?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The name itself actually comes from a family history. My family was originally from Italy, and they immigrated to the United States in 1893. Um, they went to Ellis Island. They started their own business. They lived the American dream, and the ship that carried them from Italy, or actually outside of France, to the U.S. was SS La Touraine. It was a French ocean liner, and it was in service before World War One. And that's kind of where I wanted to take the essence of the brand, and that you basically started from the old world, started from nothing, to the new world where you built a family, you built a legacy, and you kind of lived the American dream. So I thought that would be a good place to start for the brand, and we've gone from there.
Well, I definitely enjoy it, and I know a good, a lot of people. Robert, of course, DGD podcast with the dogs. I know him and I will talk at times, and I know he's a love it. Dan from the Time to BS podcast, he's up for. I know that a lot of people may not see behind the scenes, of course, in the chat and everything else, but there's a lot of excitement, and the stuff that you're posting that that's going to get out there pre-order wise. It's looking sharp there, Dave.
Oh man, appreciate that. Thank you. It's fun because you're in the lab kind of. You're
Yep.
designing something. You're looking at the options that are available, and you think you have an idea of if people are going to like it or not, but you're not entirely sure until you put it out there. And thankfully, I haven't run into a lot of like the ooh, that's not what I want to wear. I haven't run into
I
too
was
much.
about to ask you that. Have you got when you look at a product or somebody happens to look at it, have you got those not so much negative comments, but like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're not going with this one.
Well, it's funny. I think what you'll see is, especially friends and family, they'll
Mhm.
be very supportive of whatever you do generally, right? So I'll put something out and they'll be like, oh, yeah, it looks great. And then I'll look at my sales and no one's buying it, right? So that's the ultimate test is will
Yep.
people actually come to the website, look at it, buy it? And so far it's been working out. But there are definitely times when I've seen some things on the table or designed some things and woken up the next day and looked at it again and go, I don't like that so much. So I'll go back and tweak something to make it into what I want it to be. And so far, so good. Really appreciate all the support from DGD, yourself, all the podcasts. I mean, this has been tremendous to me being able to reach out and just talk watches with all of you.
And it's and of course a lot of people out there. If you want a genuine company to shop for, holiday season literally seemed like it's so far away, but now we're in September as of tomorrow, here in a few hours, if you go by clockwise, but so on and so forth. But you look at it, holidays coming around, but and I'm not speaking just to make Dave look good, but you're talking to the customer service rep right here. Him and Patrick do a wonderful job.
Yep.
Hey, if they're going to hook you up one way or another, and if you want, genuine people that want to make sure that you're taken care of, looking good, these are the guys right here that does it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. When you go to the website and you see the chatbot load, a lot of websites will just use some, script. When you go to our website, it's actually me answering you. So I do apologize if you have a little delay in your answer because I might be sleeping or I might be at work or something, but I will get back to you. I promise you that, and you will be hearing directly from me when you interact with us. Um, and so when it comes to the watches, the sunglasses, anything we have on the website, all that is backed by me and a 24-month warranty to ensure that no matter what you get, you are covered.
Hey, and I'm going to speak for myself. I enjoy it. I'll definitely be getting more. Holiday season's right around the corner. Of course, my boss, who is the director of operations, she I thought it was hilarious that I was wearing them while working, and so hey, I gotta look good if I'm gonna work.
Hey, that's right. I mean, the dress makes the man, right? So you gotta make sure you're dressed up. You got the right style. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I mean,
No,
I got
it's look.
my navigator on right now.
No, it's no. I enjoy it. It's wonderful, wonderful products. And the sunglasses, people don't realize. A lot of sunglasses are either got that really tight knit feel, or they're really close to your eyes. Mine, I just love it because it fits well. It looks great. The Bro filter is amazing, and it's all around, Dave. Excellent work, and I'm telling you, I'm excited not just for La-Touraine, but man, dude, you got something going here.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And one of the things to keep in mind is that whenever we do something like this, I actually sent a video to Benjamin today saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Here's another sample that I've been working on." Um, it didn't feel right to me. It just didn't have the right quality to it, and I don't want to put my brand on that. So we do have these things going on in the background where we try out new ideas, and you'll never see them on the website because they're just not good enough. So when you see what is on the website, what is available, when we run sales, sign up to the email list, we run
Mm-hmm.
discounts, exclusive discounts to the email list, social media, all of that stuff has a meaning behind it. It's all been vetted. It's all going to work.
That's awesome, and a buddy of mine who will be on following this episode or this recording as well is, he's real big into the American dream and just the oversight of everything, and knowing that you're fulfilling your American dream. You're starting your own business. It's taking off. I know obviously people like it's a smaller one,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody's got to start somewhere, and
Yeah.
so the fact that the American dream, which is a huge part, is amazing itself, and you don't see so many people chase a dream so much. Was this something that you always wanted to do growing up, was start your own biz and just see where it take you from?
That's a great question. So, you know, I've had a career now for a while.
Hmm.
Um, and what I found is, a lot of times you don't know what you don't know until you go out and do it.
Yep.
And when it came to starting a business, I figured, hey, I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, at least I've learned something. And along the way, I've met some amazing people, met people like yourself.
Yep.
And no matter what happens with the business, that in itself is worth it to me. The customers that we've had, the people that are happy, the people that just love our watches and all of our products, it's made it worth it for me. So it's not something that I initially set out saying, I'm going to have a business plan. I'm going to
Mhm.
have this by year 3, and here's my projection for year. It was more just out of passion for wanting to do what's right and offer people something that I think is a bit unique for the price range that it's in.
Hey, I'm telling you guys, and we'll talk sports here in a few minutes, but LaTouraine.com, LA-TOURAINE.com. Check them out. I know a lot of people like say, hey, it's a, what do you call those things? Practically a TV advertisement. It's a podcast advertisement, but I can speak for myself having the products, and you will not be disappointed. And I'm telling you guys, they got some great stuff that's gonna be shooting out, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. I think we're gonna have a really good holiday season. We're gonna have specials, and we have that Atlas new watch for pre-order right now. Make sure you get one because that one's gonna be very special.
And we'll add that to the tweet that will release the podcast tonight once it's all edited and finished up. And so we'll make sure we get that out on my end. And talking a little sports, Dave, real quick. Philly, we're right. NFL is right around the corner, and you're a Philly guy. Your thoughts on the Eagles, and of course, he only played for 1 year at OU, but is Jalen Hurts really Philly's quarterback of the future?
Man, I'll tell you something. When they got rid of Wentz, I was a little upset.
Mhm.
I didn't think that they gave him a good enough of a shot with the different coaching staff or whatever. But now, with that said, we gotta give Jalen. You gotta give
Mhm.
Jalen some time. See what he's made of. See what he's capable of. They brought in some talent. They got a new coaching staff. Nick, I think, is going to be a good head coach, and I think it's going to be a bit of a building year. I think we're going to have to see what the draft picks can do, what Howie's put together. But I think that we're going to find out really quick what we have at quarterback.
I like Jalen. Off the field, this dude's a wonderful guy. I never met him in
Yeah.
person, but what I see off the field, he's very involved in the community. I know here locally, his short time here in Oklahoma, he spent quite a bit at the Children's Hospital, which is somewhat close to downtown area, and all that good stuff. But hey, I respect Philly fans. They're passionate. You guys are passionate about all the sports, but especially the Eagles. Um, how what's the I hate saying this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Ask it.
How short of a short stint is Philly fans going to start to give him Jalen the Philly booze if his performance goes south pretty quick?
Well, I'll tell you what. It depends on a couple things. It depends on if he's showing that he's giving it max effort.
Mm-hmm.
If he's out there just killing himself to try to get the team a win, they'll respect that. If he makes a ton of mistakes early and just doesn't seem to care, doesn't have his head in the game, he's going to hear it. I wouldn't be surprised if they start booing him the first game if he starts coming out there throwing like a pick six or two.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to let him hear it. But with that said, if he comes out and he plays solid and he keeps playing solid and he's a huge character guy like you talked about, I think they're gonna have. I think he's gonna have supporters. They will get behind him. But is he going to be the long-term solution at quarterback? I don't know. I mean, I think you're seeing what the team's doing with Gardner Minshew, with Joe Flacco, bringing in these veteran quarterbacks. No matter, they're not going to be starter material either, but just bringing in veteran quarterbacks, I think they're going to need someone to manage the game if Jalen doesn't work out. So it's going to be interesting. I'll give him 3 games before the fans will either fall in love with them or flip on him.
I like the kid Gardner Minshew. I believe he's got some talent. Little mustache boy is what I call him.
Yeah.
But hey, I can't knock him. He can play. I never heard the kid come out of college. Nonetheless, he can play. But you look at Philly, of course, they're in a pretty bad division.
Yeah.
But with Dallas, who I can't stand. I'm not saying because you're a Philly fan. I don't like Dallas. I don't like them.
All right, can we please who came up with the idea that they're America's team? Who came up with that idea? I feel like someone in Dallas came up with that idea, and everyone's just been repeating it ever since. Because there is no way you go into Philly and you say America's team, and people are thinking, "All right, we came from the Declaration of Independence was signed here, and you're saying Dallas is America's team? That just doesn't make sense."
Finally, somebody gets it.
Right.
And it's funny because I get it with the saying that everything's big in Texas. Okay, so be it. But the organization hasn't won a Super Bowl almost in 30 years, and I'm just going to flat out say it. Jerry Jones is the reason why Dallas is where they're at position wise because he's so much in control. You're the owner, and then you're the president, then you're practically every godforsaken, front office position. He seemed like he's a head coach because I've never seen a guy have his own show and actually get interviewed after the game, which whatever. But I'm with you though. I don't know where the America's team came from, but I think they need to definitely reinvest in that slogan.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mention that about Jerry Jones because there's another owner that's very like that, and that would be Daniel Snyder in Washington. Just, culture starts from the top down, and at some point you have to take responsibility for your team's inability to win, for your team's inability to get talent, and I'm sorry, man, the mirror is looking at you at some point.
Eventually, which I didn't realize Jerry Jones played college ball at Arkansas, and that's pretty cool. But
yeah,
I just as much as I don't like Dallas, I don't like anything in Texas. I'll just be honest with you, but I just don't, and it goes back to OU Texas. But my wife and we went down there to San Antonio, which I don't know if you've ever been to San Antonio, but that's beautiful down there. Definitely beautiful. Humid, but I'll tolerate that. Dallas, whatever. Waco was okay. I mean, it was all right. Nothing spectacular, but anyway, so they have this. Long story short, I just wish Texas, at least the Dallas fans, would realize, quit saying this is our year. You've been saying it for 30 years. It's not your year. Just give it up. Start fresh. First of all, they need to work on Ezekiel Elliott. That boy's gaining more weight than he's losing weight. I guess eating a bowl of Cheerios or something. I don't know what they're. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing to him. Poor kid. But nonetheless, it is Dallas. But
the difference between Dallas and Philly is, right? Dallas would say this is our year. Philly would say there's always next year. That's the truth.
Who was that kicker a few years back? What was his name? He was during a draft and he practically went off on Dallas. I can't remember who that was, but
was that David Akers?
Yes, David Akers. That had to be the probably greatest moment of NFL draft. Like I said, I don't like Dallas. It's just if Dallas goes 0-17, I'm perfectly fine. If they miss the playoffs, if they make the playoffs and lose in the first round, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones, what he did to Tom Landry. I wasn't around there, but according to my dad, was not cool. But I just have that passion. I just don't. I'm not a huge fan of Dallas.
Hey, I mean, you and everybody on South Street will agree with me. You're in good company.
Hey, I know one thing. I don't have my brother-in-law is a Philly fan. I don't really know how that matched out, but he definitely is that. But no, I root for everybody but Dallas in that division. I root for anybody but Dallas. Period. I know a lot of people don't like Tom Brady. I really have nothing against Tom Brady. I know it's kind of like the Alabamas of college football. You probably do get sick and tired of seeing him win, but like Ric Flair always said, if you all you listeners out there that's wrestling fans, in order to be the champ, you got to beat the champ, and Tom Brady can do. Maybe Tom Brady's a missing link to Dallas winning the Super Bowl.
Maybe, like some space-time continuum. Like all I'll say about Brady is, Nick Foles. That's all I'll say. Other than that, he's had a great career.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
No disrespect, but
yeah,
we got him. If you're going to win one Super Bowl in team history, and I know it's not much, but if you're only going to win one.
Hey, it was against the greatest of all time, if not one of the greatest. Depends on, what generation or how you're going to count the greatest quarterback is.
Could have been a fluke, but that's okay.
Yep. Hey, it could be like the Chicago Cubs. They've won a World Series, and look, they haven't done nothing since.
Hey, sometimes it's all city needs, honestly. Like when you win one championship in Philly, I mean, you're good for the rest of your life. I mean, it's fun.
God dang.
That's the expectations, man. You had generations of Eagles fans I mean, like just generations since 1946, I guess was the last championship they won. It wasn't in the NFL back then, and to see them win one in my lifetime was special. And so from this point on, whatever they want to do, I'll support them. But we got one. I'm good. I'm not great.
I love that. Speaking of Super Bowl moments, and I can still relive, relive Super Bowl. If you can't tell, Dave, in the back, I'm a Broncos fan.
Great team.
Um, we got our own issues, but nonetheless, you look at Super Bowl moments. While watching that game, what did you do when you celebrated? How did you celebrate that wonderful win?
I don't think I can repeat what I did in this podcast. It's not family friendly. But let me just say there was about 20 some odd years of sports frustration just let out. It was very cathartic for me. It was just it was more in sports because you had just dealt with not being good enough for so long because everyone else in that division has multiple rings. Everyone else in that division would always give you crap every time you would play each other. And to actually win that on that stage against that opponent, it would be a family friendly, but it was a long blue streak. It was just like, man, we finally did it. We finally did it, and it didn't feel real. It took like a couple moments for it to sink in. This was actually happening, and I think you saw what happened in the city itself. They went crazy.
Oh yes,
it was like taking this huge gorilla just off your back. There's no way of really describing it other than that. It was an amazing moment. Never forget it.
And people, unfortunately, I got a Cleveland Brown fan coming on tomorrow, and and some, unfortunately, some people can't and haven't felt that, but of course, Super Bowl 50, it's going on 6 years now, but I still remember, and it brings all back my memories because we'll kind of get not too personal, but I always ask this one question. I always ask every host just to see how everybody reacted. But last year my dad had a stroke, and of course COVID, all that good stuff. And so it brings back Super Bowl 50. I remember watching it. My dad he came over to the house, and I think it was my oldest son was still. No, he passed out on the floor. I woke him up. He passed out on the floor. My wife was still awake. My dad was next to me somewhere. Of course, towards the end, I was starting to get too excited. I don't think I could sit down. My youngest son was sleeping. My daughter wasn't around at the time. So, but those are the memories people don't realize. Yeah, sports is just it's a cool thing to get away from life on. But also at the same time, sports bring those moments and kind of leads up. And then we'll get back to Philly real quick. But last year, of course, we all know COVID 19, 2020 year, all that, not really good stuff, but all the stuff we all got dealt with one into another. Looking back at 2020, and I know we're halfway through 21 now, but looking through 2020, what was some of the things that you just realized? And like for me, example, not so much family time, but it really put in perspective. Man, did I really need to do X, Y? Was I really that busy to, hold off another weekend to go see whoever until you can't? But nonetheless, what was 2020 like for you personally? And what did you learn from it? Or what were some of the things that you were probably not so grateful for in the past prior to 2020?
Man, that's a great question. So 2020 for me was different, like it was for everybody. My wife and I, we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina in August of 2019. We bought our home here in November of 2019. And we were thinking 2020 was going to be our year. Like we had tickets to NFL games, we had tickets to concerts, you name it. Like we were going to go out and just see the world, see the city, and just become, residents of our new home. We both got new jobs, both really excited about that. And then, as you know, COVID happened. Everything went remote. Everything shut down. Businesses were closed. And I think really what it showed me, like just how, much we take for granted, I think. within the society that we live in, like all the freedoms we had to just go out and do anything we wanted. And that's not so much the case anymore with a lot of things closing down, the restrictions and everything like that. And I think it just shows like how fragile those freedoms were to just go out and do whatever you want, travel wherever you want, um, and to lose some of that. So I think from that aspect, you opened your eyes a little bit. From the work aspect, I think it ushered in and sped up the remote work culture a lot more than people were ready for in some ways, but showing that maybe it's not, maybe we don't have to go to an office as much anymore. Um, and then from a family perspective, part of it was great. Got to spend a ton of time with my wife. We have a newborn son now as
Really?
well, which has been awesome. But we also didn't get to see our in-laws. We didn't get to see our parents much.
Hmm.
So that's time lost. Didn't get to see a lot of friends. Time lost. So on the whole, I think it was just a really introspective year, and I hope that all of us are better coming out of it because of all the things that we can now appreciate more than we probably did before.
So true, and you nailed it. Just grateful for just life in itself. I think we take for granted a lot of things, like for me, I always take my oldest to uh, Thunder games, so the Thunder basketball games,
Mm-hmm.
or when I was working with the Dodgers, maybe come by or whatever. There's a lot of things, not so much sports related, but you can go to the movies theaters. You can go,
Yeah,
heck, you
just
can go
like
to the park. I mean, the
things
park,
that
for God's
yeah
sakes.
things
I mean,
things you just used to do
yep.
for fun, like that were spontaneous. Like, let's
Hmm.
go see a movie tonight. Well, now it's a little more difficult. So, yeah, I think you nailed it right there.
Absolutely. And one thing about I hope, well, first off, is your family has first off, is your family doing well? Of course, with all this COVID stuff going around, and hopefully not. But were you guys in the COVID realm of, did anybody get sick during, or I guess even leading up to today? Has anybody in your family got COVID or been sick?
I'd hate to answer that question because we've been blessed and not had any COVID in our
Yeah, I can
family.
say knock. Yeah, exactly. I don't
So,
want to curse you guys.
I'm sure eventually it'll happen by the virtue of how this stuff works. But so far, we managed to stay safe and healthy, and that's really what our focus is.
We're crossing fingers, saying prayers for you. I don't jinx you guys.
Yeah.
So if yeah, I'm known for jinxing people. So hopefully that curse
Oh
got
no.
stopped before before Dave and his family.
Oh, no.
Anybody else, well, so be it. But no, jokes aside. But everybody else, no, Dave's on his own. Everybody else, now you're with me. We're gonna take the risk. Uh, but anyway, no, it's I had symptoms. The test came back negative. Whether or not it might have been a false negative, I'm not going to
Yeah.
speak on that one. The wife had it real bad, and then my youngest son, poor kid, he's 8 now, but he was 7 at the time, and his temperature couldn't go down for about 4 days, and I felt bad for that kid because my daughter my daughter loves her siblings, her older brothers. My oldest son is 12, Isaac's 12, Blake's 7. Well, now he's 8. Okay, I'm bad. He's 8 and she's 3. Well, anyway, so poor kid, he just comes out there. I'm on COVID leave from work. He sits on he's watching TV on the living room on the couch. All of a sudden he gets up and he's like, I'm like, oh boy, this isn't good. Because usually with Blake, he doesn't tell you he's sick. He's just gonna let you know he's sick.
Yeah.
And so poor kid, all of a sudden he gets up and just vomits everywhere. Well, myself, I'm not a huge vomit person. I tolerate it pretty well. Poor my wife, I feel bad for her. She's running down the hall to the restroom because she's about to get sick because she's seen our youngest son get sick. I'm hoping my daughter at the time, she's but yeah, he can't play, Victory. He can't play, and so it was not fun. But nonetheless, since then we've all been, like you said, it's been crossing fingers for the hope. But
Yeah.
you know, it is where it's one of those things. If it's going to happen, it's just going to. I mean, hopefully not, but cross fingers 10 times for Dave and 2 times for
Yeah.
me. Uh,
Yeah. All of our fingers are crossed.
but no, I'm glad to hear that your family's doing well, and and we're praying, of course, crossing fingers that everything turns out that well.
Thank you.
Real quick, back to Philly. I know people that's not keep going. Well, there's also good things too. Dick Vermeil, of course, a former Eagles head coach way back in the day,
Yeah.
Super Bowl winner with the Rams. I believe he's due up for the Hall of Fame on next year's ballot. Any chance he's a first time ballot in your opinion, or maybe a few years for Dick?
You know, I like him. I think he's a good guy. He did a good job at
Mm-hmm.
Philly too, helping to bring together a really rough roster. I think he was the coach during the Invincible period with
Yep.
yeah. Um,
Oh yeah.
but he's won one Super Bowl. Is that enough for a first time coach to get in? You look, John Madden got in, but maybe that's because more of his broadcasting. I don't know. That's
Mm-hmm.
a good one. I mean, I- I'll keep my fingers crossed for him. How's that?
I like him just because he brought my dad's Rams a Super Bowl. I'll hope for him. I'm like you. I don't know if one is gonna get you in, but I mean, again, there's some people in there that I thought shouldn't be in, but nonetheless, they make the decisions, not me. Real quick, Dave, the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh boy, here we go. Here we go. Bring it on.
What in the world is going to happen with this team? I know they just got mass extension for Joel Embiid. Now Ben Simmons, we don't know what's really, playoff Simmons sucks. Regular Simmons, hey, he's tolerable. But nonetheless, what does this team should do in your opinion? I mean, I know we're not GMs and we're not behind the locker room. I get that. It's podcast. We just talk. What should the the 76ers do in your opinion? Because I know I had them winning. I'll be honest. I had them winning. That didn't happen so well. Nonetheless, jokes aside, where does Philly go from here from a Philly standpoint, from a fan standpoint even too?
Man, we could do a whole other podcast on my thoughts on the Sixers.
Hey, I can schedule you for next month.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. So I played basketball growing up. Basketball is my love and adoration of the sport. Sixers are obviously the team I watched growing up. Um, I watched the modern NBA. I watched the Sixers team, and the way that they're constructed is imbalanced. You have Simmons running point guard when he can't shoot the ball or he's not willing to shoot the ball to spread the defense out. You have a post player who is at the 3-point line, dribbling between his legs, doing crossover moves. I mean, I'm an old head. Like I understand the game's evolved, but at some point, these positions need to match better. You need to have Embiid. He's going to get tired in the fourth quarter. He's carrying way too much of the load right now, offensively. Defensively, he's a beast, and once again, he's tired by the end of the fourth quarter. He needs help, and you surround him with, I hate to say it, but not much better role players. Tobias Harris, he's got this extension. You know, I mean, I see him as like a third, maybe fourth starter, not as the number 3 guy, maybe number 2 guy, depending if Simmons decides to show up or not. Simmons to me, so I'm on the Simmons get him out of the town bandwagon. I have been since he came back the second season without a jump shot. It's been that long. In my opinion, in the NBA, if you can't develop a jump shot, that tells me that you're not willing to work hard. You have the best coaches in the world. You have the best nutrition in the world, the best trainers in the world. And after 4 years, maybe 5 now, 5, you can't take a jump shot. There's no excuse. I mean, he's been empowered for too long. You had Brett Brown. In my opinion, if I were coach and I were Brett Brown before he got fired, and he should have been fired.
Oh, yeah.
Every time Ben Simmons passed up an open jump shot, I would have brought him to the bench until he learned how to carry the offense the right way. And I know that might be a little extreme, but they just coddled him for so long, and now he's just – I have no use for him on the team. I really just don't like the player. It is what it is. They need to trade him.
Well, and that's about this. And I was actually going to ask that. Do you think, and I'm not making no excuses, I think his time in Philly's way done. I think it's time to have a change of scenery, whether that's anyway. I don't know who's going to take him, but I'm sure someone will, but nonetheless, do you think it's a confidence thing with him passing up the open shots because he knows that he probably 99.2% of the time is going to miss that shot?
That's where as a fan you just never know.
Exactly.
I'm outside looking in. I don't know
Of
his day
course,
to
right.
day. I don't know what his preparation is. I don't know where his mental health is. I know they have sports psychologists on the roster in Philly. That's the coaches. That's
Mhm.
something the coach should figure out. And can Doc Rivers figure that out with this guy? I don't know if he can. Brett had him for that long. I don't know if he can, but I think a change of scenery is the right move for him, both for his career, but then I think also to help take some of the pressure off of him too.
I think change of scenery definitely would be good. And some players, unfortunately, some do actually do better with the change of scenery than they do where they're currently at. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Oklahoma City Thunder should make a trade for Simmons. I don't know about that one. But if it happens, nonetheless. But no, I think I like Philly, a team that has a lot of potential, definitely has a talent that can win a championship. And brings me to this question coming from a Philly fan. Who's the closest team currently, all in Philly? You got the Phillies. I don't know much. I guess they have a soccer team. I don't know. I don't follow soccer very well, but out of the what they call the four majors, the Flyers, the Phillies, the Eagles, the Sixers, who has the closest chance to winning the division, championship, league championship anytime soon?
Ooh.
I know that's a tough one.
Well, I'll say it's not the Eagles. They're rebuilding. They're a
Right.
few years away for sure. Um, I would say I don't follow the Flyers enough, but from my understanding, they're kind of in a rebuild period as well. They have a lot of older talent that they're trying to cycle through.
Mhm.
Um, it's probably the Sixers. The Phillies are too inconsistent. They need more talent. They're a little
Right.
young. Bullpen's always an issue with them. So I would have to go Sixers, but they need to make the right trade for Simmons. Um, if they make the right trade for Simmons, that team is kind of fixed. If you can get a point guard in there that can shoot the ball from behind the 3-point line, spread the defense, and then still defend, I think that's all that team needs.
And I don't know contract wise what Simmons still has or currently has left, but what would you do? Would you do a Shea Gilgeous Alexander? Because the Thunder always trades people just to get picks, and we always trade people because their contracts are close to being expired. Would you take like a Shea Gilgeous Alexander as your point guard and exchange it for Ben Simmons?
You know, I don't know enough about that player to be able to say yes or no. But if your team is always looking for draft picks, uh, I come from the Sam Hinkie belief that you don't give those things up.
Yep.
You don't give those things up unless it's a franchise altering talent.
Yep.
And I don't know if that gentleman is a franchise altering talent to take away draft picks. So you know, it's tough because remember the process was started because the
Yep.
Sixers team with Iguodala couldn't get past the first round no matter how much they tried. So it was started to get that moonshot of getting a franchise player and to go win a championship. And now we have got the franchise player, but now we're in a very similar position of instead of the first round, now we're second round in and out. So I think there's going to have to be changes made.
No,
Elaborate.
I agree. I agree. And Shea Gildas, I don't know much about him. I never heard of the kid when we traded for him 2019. When I don't know 2020, 2019, somewhere in that ball frame. I know they got a massive extension for him, but I'm not going to speak on behalf if he's the franchise. I was going to say quarterback, franchise answer or not, but we'll see in a matter of time. But real quick, I don't want to take too much of your time, but looking at the NBA as a whole, and I know Dan from the Time to BS podcast, I listened to some of his episodes, and we've even talked about it from time to time. But is the NBA? Are we just going to have to get used to the super team mentality like the what LA's doing out in with the Lakers?
I think to an extent we are. I think there's too many teams to have enough of a talent base on smaller markets. So you're gonna have to have some of these areas where you have super teams. Um, is it good for the NBA? Is another question. But I
Mhm.
think that you see Milwaukee just won the
Yep.
championship. That's a good sign for just parity of the league. But ultimately, I think you're good. Just the problem with super teams is that once you start going down that route, you're going to have to tell everybody to basically disarm and break it up.
Exactly.
It's kind of like like the Cold War arms race, right? Like which
Yep.
side's going to stop first, and I don't know if that's going to happen without the commissioner and the board of governors getting involved and rewriting the rules around free agencies and stuff like that. So it's a tough one.
It is, and again, I'll be honest. A lot of people don't be like, you don't talk much about the NBA. Well, I do now with the Thunder, but growing up wise, I never really even followed the NBA because there really no reason to. My dad, who I love to death, he's a Knicks fan. That I don't know. I'll have to get his answer before he passes away. Why did he like all these teams? So, kind of fill you in. He's a Montreal Canadian fan. Never
Okay.
lived in Canada, but he's a Montreal Canadian fan. Don't ask me how that started. He's a New York Knicks fan. Poor guy. Then you got the Oakland Athletics. And then at the time, it was the LA Rams with Deacon Jones. Then they moved to St. Louis. He still called them LA Rams. Then he was so glad they moved back to LA because he kept saying LA Rams when they were in St. Louis. And I don't know where he likes these teams, but he's got a variety. But I'll have to find out. But what I'm getting at one is going to the NBA expansion. I know we talked about Las Vegas potentially. Seattle. Poor guys got their team lost. Do we think the NBA? How big is too big for the NBA in your opinion? Or I know talent wise, a lot of people kind of vary it that expansion. Well, the talent's not there. Baseball, there's already enough bad teams as it is, as they would always say. Could you potentially see the NBA expanding, or probably more relocating to say Las Vegas and to Seattle if they happen to go that route down the future?
You know, part of me hopes that Seattle gets the team back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that fan base was a very good fan base, a loyal fan base, and
Yeah.
I think what the owner did to that city is probably your worst case nightmare as a
Mm-hmm.
fan of any team. Now, with that said, Oklahoma City obviously has embraced it and been a wonderful,
Right.
wonderful city. But I think anybody growing up in the NBA misses the Supersonics, right?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
so I think that they could support a team. Now, is the talent pool deep enough to support? What are they up to now? 32 teams if they went back to Seattle. I think they're at
Uh,
31 now.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. In my opinion, probably not. I mean, I think what you're seeing in the NBA today is a lack of talent. You have superstars that, I mean, they're good, but if you put them in other eras, how good would they be with different
Right.
rules, with more physical play? I just don't know. I think it's a tough question because there's really no way of knowing in sports.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what it boils down to, right? There's really no way of knowing. You have
Yeah.
metrics, you have data, you have analytics, and I know that will drive people crazy to hear me say that. But the problem is that you may have people scoring as many points as James Harden, for example, because he's using the efficiency of data
Mm-hmm.
analytics in order to understand he needs to get to the free throw line 15 times a game, versus in the past when they would be taking long contested 2-point shots. But do we know that that means that they're a better player necessarily? I don't know. It's an internal debate of my own.
It it's funny because and a lot of people and just they always do the what ifs, the expansions. Well, Oklahoma City's mentioned for the NFL. Well, as much as I would love to see an NFL team here in Oklahoma City, don't get me wrong. Geographically, it's not probably going to happen because you got Dallas, you got Houston, you got Denver, you got Kansas City. At the time, you had St. Louis, and now with everything going on with COVID and the economy and so on and so forth, I don't know if you're going to see brand new teams. I think more relocating, but I'm like you though. You just can't fully, and like you said, you just can't really answer because you got the analytics. Well, what if Russ Westbrook goes back to Seattle? What if so and
Yeah.
so goes here? It's just too many what ifs, and KD and LeBron may be playing their 60s and still going 2-3 teams after every after every 2 years or so. But
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. You have such a wide disparity in age now too. I
yeah,
mean, eras past, LeBron would have been retired by now.
Oh yes.
So it's very interesting to see how this is going to unfold because you used to have an older league that was mainly stars in their 30s, early to mid 30s,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what gave us some of the classics that we watched. But now you have 20-year-olds going up against a 39-year-old. Uh, that's a really large disparity. How's that impact your talent pool if you're going to keep expanding? You're going to
Mm-hmm.
keep having more 20-year-olds coming in the league. It'd be interesting. I mean, with overseas talent expanding as well, you now have that route to get additional talent. But at some point, I mean, are there really going to be 350 players in the world that are good enough to walk on an NBA court? I don't know.
Guess we'll find out from one end to another. But few questions. I'm just gonna have kind of fun questions for you, Dave, and in the show. But first things first. What do you like to do when you're? What do you like to do for fun? What's your favorite season? Fall, winter, spring, summer?
Yeah, well, fall is definitely my favorite season. All the sports I like are on. Uh,
Yep.
for fun, honestly, it's just hanging out with friends, having a lot of discussions just like this. Honestly, a couple of my friends and I will go out and grab like bourbon or something like that, and just
Nice.
tee off around a lot of different things, and I find that to be a lot of fun. And every now and then, I'm working at it, but I like to get back out to the court and take a couple jumpers here and there too.
Maybe you can show Ben Simmons something.
I don't think I could. Have you ever seen that Joe Just Pro show?
Yep.
You know, we're out here talking about Ben Simmons not being able to shoot, but I guarantee you he could probably beat me in a game of horse like tomorrow. Like,
Oh, hands down, absolutely.
yeah, in his pajamas, like when he like flip flops, he'd be wearing slides and he'd be like draining like every 3-pointer on me in the world. So like,
Well, I know one thing. The good Lord above did not bless me with basketball skills, so I'm not going to bash him too much because I'm going to be honest. He's gonna embarrass me on the court.
oh
But
man, that'd be a fun podcast though.
dude, that would be nice. That
Yeah.
would be that would be nice. I can just now visual myself going to the hospital after that one. Uh, out in North Carolina, I know that they're. Well, I've heard. I've never been to North Carolina. I know the wife and I were hoping to make it out there last year, and of course, COVID. We were supposed to take a cruise, and COVID. But beside the point, I heard North Carolina is good for the barbecue. Have you had any? Is there anything good out in North Carolina?
Oh man, I can tell you some places. They,
Nice.
I love North Carolina barbecue. I know that there are people that prefer Texas barbecue.
Mhm.
I've been to Snows in Texas. I've been to a few of the other places in Texas. I like North Carolina barbecue. It's good stuff. Anybody who wants to come to North Carolina, I can give you a list of places. Check it out.
Well, I know one thing. When that day comes, hopefully here soon. Hopefully, I'll definitely hit you up and be like, hey, so give me a good list of because here in Oklahoma City, we got some good joints, but I hear really really good things about North Carolina. I gotta at least taste. Gotta take that risk.
You got to do it, man. There's a lot of family places that have just been around for
Mhm.
decades, and those are the ones you want to go to. And yeah, I can give you a list. There's probably about 3 off the top of my head that I think you should definitely check out.
Nice. Have you been to the Carolina beaches yet?
Yeah, I've been to Wrightsville Beach, been to the Outer Banks, and then also it's not really North Carolina, but Myrtle Beach on like that
Mhm.
tip of South Carolina. They're pretty nice. I mean, I grew up near Philadelphia, so we would have the Jersey Shore. So compared to that, yeah, I mean we're doing pretty good. Some of our beaches here. I grew up
Of
in the
course.
80s, so you had like hospital waste like showing up on the Jersey Shore. So yeah, you have manage expectations there when I make these statements, right? Like it was pretty. It was a lot different back then.
Of course, Philly. I've never been to Philly or Pennsylvania for that matter. Comparison to Philly is where you're, and I'm not going to say for safety reasons, but where you're at currently in North Carolina is what's the difference from that to Philly? I'm sure also a lot, but besides,
Man,
are they more nicer? I've heard Philly people kind of can be a pain in the rear.
I can know I've stopped defending Philadelphia fans. I can't do it. I love them to death. I am
Mhm.
one, but I can't defend them anymore. Like I just can't do it. So one of the differences I'll say is I can go to a football game in North Carolina wearing an opposing team's jersey and not get stabbed or shot. So
Whoa!
there's that difference I'd say between the two. You can do it in Philly too, but you're probably going to get beer thrown at you, or you're going to get into a fight.
Wow!
Um, at the very least, people are going to yell at you and say something. Whereas down here, it's more of a transient. More people have relocated here from the
Mhm.
north and other areas of the country, so it's a little more laid back in terms of football stadium behavior and just showing up and being a fan of a different team. So that's one difference. I think the other difference is just the weather is a little bit nicer. We have a lot less, you know. Uh, so there's some things like that. But I mean, I love Philly. I really do. I love going up there, and you can walk anywhere and you can just start talking Eagles with people. You can start talking Sixers with people, and everyone up there has a pretty good pulse on like how the team's doing. So it's a very big sports town, and it's a generational sports town. So someone's grandfather's grandfather, cheered for the Phillies type thing, and
That's
I think
awesome.
that's what makes it unique and special, and that's why I think people are so passionate. Is that it's a part of their family? They're raised into it. Their parents are raised into it. It just passes down, and that's one thing that you can never take away from them.
That's awesome. And I've never been to Philly. My grandmother's from Pennsylvania, Washington, Pennsylvania, or yeah, Washington, Pennsylvania. But never been there. I don't know if I plan on, I have no expectations to, but you never know. But North Carolina, we definitely mentioned even just visiting. So definitely, I'll definitely hit some of that good barbecue up there. Have you even been to Oklahoma City? Have you been to Oklahoma City before?
I have not been to Oklahoma City before. I did go to Kansas one time and Missouri, but I haven't been to Oklahoma City. And one last thing about Philly, if you want to talk about a trip, you got to go to Philly and try some of their food. They have the best darn food. Like, not just barbecue, but like Italian, you name it. They have some of the best food in the East Coast. So I wouldn't write them off in terms of like if you just want to go out and get a really great sandwich or something.
Is it, what's a good place to get a Philly cheesesteak from?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. So, all right, every single sportscast will always do the South Street thing where they'll show like Jim's, Geno's, or
Mhm.
Pat's. If you're a tourist, great, go. I mean, it's a good experience. If you're a local, you're going to go probably to one of my favorites, which is D'Alessandro's in Roxborough. I think that place is fantastic. There's other places that, whoever you talk to in the city has their place. But my place is D'Alessandro's, and it's not a tourist trap.
Because I've heard, excuse me, I've heard a lot of, I never had a genuine. You can buy those Philly cheesesteak things in these, I don't know, probably this yay big box that says it's your Philly cheesesteak. I'm like, no, I want like a legit Philly cheesesteak from Philly. I don't want this rink. I think somewhere in Oklahoma they have one, but I don't know if it's legit or not. But nonetheless, if you come to Oklahoma City, definitely hit me up. I'll if it's game week, I'll hit you up with the Thunder tickets and all that good jazz.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That would be so cool. Thanks, man.
And you never know. I think I got tickets to the Sixers game, so I'll have to find where my things at. And you never know. We maybe see Ben Simmons missing some shots, or maybe he's improving by then. I'll give you
Oh,
guys.
man. You and I would have so much fun just betting on if he's going to make the next jump shot or not.
That'd be sweet.
Uh,
Hey, definitely. If you ever come to Oklahoma City for real, though, jokes aside, I'll definitely hook you up. And it's not bad here, in Oklahoma. I know we don't get the famous, whatever. We don't live in teepees. We don't ride horses. I can guarantee you that. So whatever you heard of that one, that's definitely false.
I haven't heard that one. All I've heard is that people are really nice, and
Yep.
I would love to come out and do that. I think we'd have a great time, and I'll definitely let you know if I'm out that way. And maybe I'll come out that way just to grab a game with you too. I mean, I think it would be a lot of fun.
Hey, most definitely. And like I said, we don't ride horses, so we do have horses downtown, but they do this little carriage thingy around Bricktown. But downtown's a whole lot better. I would now 20 years ago, I would have told you to get the what out of there because it was pretty bad 20 years ago. But nah, jokes aside, Oklahoma City, we're not bad. We can be weird, I'm sure, at times, but hey, while I can hear it's home, and I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, your your home is where you're happiest, right? So nothing. I mean, I'm sure it's a wonderful place. I just haven't been there yet, but I definitely would like to someday.
Most definitely, and in the show on that. But Dave, like I said, anytime Oklahoma City opens you with open arms, and we'll definitely take care of you.
Oh man, thank you so much. And likewise, if you ever want to come to Carolina, you just let me know.
Most definitely, everybody. Dave, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, talking, live sports, just the fun stuff. And this is what I do. I just love doing it. And thank you so much for coming on, Dave, the founder of La-Touraine watches. Give him a check out, law-touraine.com. Of course, use Air Raid code, save 10%. See, I should have worn my watch. Now I feel bad. It's over here in the built-in. Literally, I got home, but there you go.
There you go.
We're going to send all the link in the description once the podcast is released. Dave, again, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening and the rest of your wonderful week.
Thank you. You too, Michael. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me on.
My pleasure. And Dave, again, from LawTouraine.com. Watches, save 10% using the code AIRRAID. Ladies and gentlemen, that's one down. We got one more to go. Join us next on the Air Raid Attack podcast. Yours truly, Dan Krause from the Time to BS podcast, and Wong Lam from the Defining Moments podcast. We'll see you here shortly.